There's a moment, standing in front of certain ancient ruins, when the math stops working. Not emotionally, literally. You look at the stones, you think about the tools that existed at the time, you think about the labor, the precision, the weight, and the numbers don't add up. Not in a mystical way, in a purely engineering way. These 5 structures are not mysteries in the tabloid sense. Nobody built them with alien help. But the people who study them professionally, archaeologists, engineers, geologists, will tell you, quietly and carefully, that we still don't fully understand how they were made. Or in some cases, why. That gap between what exists and what we can explain is where this story lives. Start in Bolivia. High on the Andean Plateau, at an altitude of nearly 3,900 meters, sits a site called Puma Punku. It's part of the broader Tiwanaku complex, a civilization that flourished roughly between 500 and 1000 CE, centuries before the Inca. But Puma Punku is different from anything else they built. Different, arguably, from anything else built anywhere in the ancient world. The stones here are not stacked. They are interlocked. Massive blocks of red sandstone and gray andesite, some weighing over 100 metric tons, were cut with such precision that their joints are measured in fractions of a millimeter. Flat surfaces ground smooth enough to reflect light, H-shaped blocks that fit together like machined components. Identical drill holes bored through stone at consistent angles. Here's the engineering problem. Andesite, the gray stone used for the most intricate pieces, is one of the hardest stones on Earth. Cutting it cleanly requires tools harder than the stone itself. The Tiwanaku had no iron, no steel, no known rotary cutting technology. What they did have, researchers now believe, was an extraordinarily sophisticated understanding of abrasion. Using harder stone tools, particularly quartzite and likely sand as an abrasive medium, they may have ground these surfaces over enormous amounts of time, with a level of patience and communal organization that's difficult to comprehend by modern standards. What still isn't resolved is the transport question. The andesite came from a quarry near Lake Titicaca, roughly 90 kilometers away, across high-altitude terrain. Without the wheel, without draft animals capable of pulling that kind of weight at elevation, the leading hypothesis involves sledges, ropes, and sheer human coordination at a scale that would require thousands of workers organized over generations. Possible? Yes. Proven? Not entirely. The honest answer from archaeologists is that we know the destination and we know the source, and the middle is still being filled in. Move now to a different continent and a much older question. To southeastern Turkey, and a site that genuinely rewrote a chapter of human history when it was excavated. Göbekli Tepe was discovered by a Kurdish shepherd in 1963, initially dismissed as a medieval cemetery. It wasn't until German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt began serious excavations in 1994 that the site revealed what it actually was: a complex of massive stone pillars, arranged in circular enclosures, carved with intricate animal reliefs, built approximately 11,500 years ago. That date is the problem, or rather the revelation. 11,500 years ago, according to everything we understood about human civilization before this discovery, agriculture hadn't happened yet. Settled societies hadn't formed. The people alive then were hunter-gatherers, moving with the seasons, living in small, mobile groups. They were not supposed to be capable of organizing the construction of a monumental site covering over 90,000 square meters, with T-shaped limestone pillars standing up to 5.5 meters tall and weighing up to 10 tons each. Göbekli Tepe didn't just push back the timeline of monumental architecture. It inverted one of the foundational assumptions about why civilization happened at all. The old model said, agriculture first, then settlement, then religion, then monuments. Göbekli Tepe suggests the sequence may have been reversed, that the drive to build something sacred, something communal, something larger than any individual life, may have come first. And that building it may have been what pushed people toward agriculture, not the other way around. Schmidt himself, before his death in 2014, described it as a site built by people on the edge of a cognitive revolution. Not just a temple, a statement. Proof that the organizational complexity we associate with civilization was present in human communities far earlier than the physical evidence of cities or farming. Only about 5% of the site has been excavated. The rest waits underground. What's already there has been enough to reshape entire fields of study. From monumental pillars to something almost invisible from the ground, the Sajama Lines of western Bolivia. Most people have heard of the Nazca Lines in Peru, those enormous geoglyphs scraped into the desert floor, visible only from the air. The Sajama Lines are less famous. They are also, by almost every measure, more extraordinary. Spread across an area of roughly 22,000 square kilometers, nearly the size of New Jersey, the Sajama Lines are a network of thousands of perfectly straight paths, some stretching for kilometers across rugged, volcanic terrain. They were created by clearing the surface of dark rocks to expose the lighter soil beneath, and they converge, branch, and intersect in ways that suggest a vast, coordinated system rather than random tracks. What makes them remarkable isn't just their scale, it's their straightness. These lines maintain geometric precision across terrain that includes hills, ridges, ravines, and slopes. Without aerial surveying tools, without GPS, without any technology we can identify in the archaeological record of the region, the builders maintained lines so straight that modern researchers using satellite imagery have struggled to find deviations. Who built them is known. The indigenous Aymara and their predecessors, likely over a period of centuries or millennia, connected to ritual practices involving sacred sites called wakas. Why they needed them to be perfectly straight, across terrain that makes straight lines extremely difficult, is still an open question. One theory involves sight lines between sacred points. Another involves processional routes for ritual movement. What nobody has convincingly explained is the method. How do you maintain a perfectly straight line across 10 kilometers of broken volcanic landscape with no high point to sight from and no tool we can identify? Experimental archaeology hasn't fully cracked it. The lines exist. The technique remains, at least partially, a matter of informed speculation. In 1992, a group of farmers in China's Zhejiang province were digging a drainage pond. They broke through into something that had no business being there. A cavern. Then another. Then another. What they had stumbled into were the Longyou Caves, 36 artificial grottos carved from solid siltstone, covering an area of approximately 30,000 square meters, with chambers reaching up to 30 meters in height. Some of the chambers are large enough to contain a 5-story building. The scale is extraordinary enough on its own, but what stopped archaeologists and engineers cold was something subtler: the walls. Every interior surface, walls, ceilings, pillars, is covered with a consistent pattern of parallel chisel marks, spaced approximately 2 to 3 centimeters apart, arranged in precise, repeating geometric patterns. The entire interior of every cave, across all 36 chambers, was finished with this same technique. It is meticulous beyond any practical necessity. It is, whatever else it is, deliberate art applied at an industrial scale. There is no record of the caves in any Chinese historical document. No dynasty claimed them. No account describes their construction. Carbon dating of artifacts found inside places human activity in the caves around 2,000 years ago, likely during the Qin or Han dynasty, but no written source from either period mentions a construction project of this magnitude in this location. For context, these caves required the removal of an estimated 1 million cubic meters of rock. That is a construction project comparable in labor to building a significant portion of the Great Wall. It was either erased from history or never recorded, and for a civilization as document-conscious as ancient China, neither explanation is comfortable. What they were used for is debated. Storage, shelter, defense, religious purpose. All have been proposed, none have been confirmed. The caves sit, largely intact, largely unexplained, open to visitors who can walk their vast, silent interiors and wonder how something this large simply vanished from the historical record. Save the largest for last. High in the Andes, above the city of Cusco in Peru, sit the ruins of Sacsayhuaman, the great fortress, or ceremonial complex, or both, built by the Inca. Construction began in the mid-15th century under the reign of Pachacuti and continued for decades, reportedly involving tens of thousands of workers. The walls are made of limestone and andesite blocks, in a style called polygonal masonry, stones of irregular shapes, fitted together without mortar, their joints carved so precisely that not even a sheet of paper can slide between them. The largest individual blocks weigh an estimated 125 metric tons. Some estimates go higher. To understand what 125 metric tons means physically, the heaviest stone blocks used in the construction of Stonehenge weigh approximately 25 tons. The heaviest at the Great Pyramid reach around 80 tons, and those required the most extreme logistical operations in Egyptian history. Sacsayhuaman's largest stones outweigh both. They were moved from quarries several kilometers away, uphill, through the Andes, and then fitted into place with a precision that has survived earthquakes that leveled the Spanish colonial buildings constructed directly on top of the Inca foundations. When the ground shook, the colonial architecture crumbled. The Inca walls held. That's not myth. Cusco sits in a seismically active zone and has experienced major earthquakes since Spanish colonization. The Inca stonework, its interlocking irregular shapes distributing seismic stress rather than resisting it rigidly, has consistently outperformed European masonry built centuries later with superior metallurgy and more recorded engineering knowledge. Inca construction methods are better understood than some on this list. They used earthen ramps, log rollers, fiber ropes, and extraordinary communal labor systems called mita. But the precision of the joint cutting on irregular polygonal faces, shaped to fit a specific neighboring stone, still raises genuine questions about process. Each stone is unique. Each joint is custom. The fitting of one stone to another requires knowing the final shape of both before either is fully carved. How the Inca managed this coordination, at this scale, without written language, without metal tools harder than bronze, remains one of the more quietly remarkable unsolved problems in archaeology. What connects these 5 places? Bolivia, Turkey, Bolivia again, China, Peru, isn't the presence of mystery in the supernatural sense. It's the presence of a very specific kind of gap. The gap between what a civilization was supposed to be capable of, according to our models, and what they actually built. Every one of these structures exists. The stone is real. The engineering is real. The age is real. What's incomplete is our explanation of the process, and in some cases, our explanation of the motive. That incompleteness isn't a failure of archaeology. It's an invitation. These sites are still being studied, still being excavated, still being measured with technologies that didn't exist a decade ago. Ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR scanning, isotopic analysis of stone, each new tool brings new data. What we know for certain is this: the people who built these structures were not primitive. They were not less intelligent than us. They were not visited by anyone from elsewhere. They were humans, working within the constraints of their time, solving problems we haven't fully reverse-engineered yet. That might be the most humbling part of all. Not that the ancient world was magical, but that it was capable in ways we're still learning to understand.